Light, compact, and affordable. These are pretty much the ideal traits that one looks for in a city car. If it comes with a sporty and aggressive look plus some creature comforts to boot, then it only makes a good thing even better. Now, Toyota has managed to hit the nail on the head with their Wigo offering, and with the recent facelift last June 2020, it only became even better. In this video, we check out the changes that were made in the 2021 Toyota Wigo GAT, and we'll find out if it still has the chops to take the fight to other affordable city cars. Let's do this! Hello guys, I'm Reagan and welcome back to another car review. If you're new to my channel, I hope you hit that subscribe button and become part of the Reagan Strides family. If you're my subscriber already, thank you so much for your support by watching this video. I also hope that you give it a like. Also, special thanks to Toyota Valenzuela for giving us this awesome opportunity to feature the all-new facelifted 2021 Toyota Wigo GAT. If you have any inquiries for any of the Toyota lineup, you may head on down here to Toyota Valenzuela and check them out. Or you may also contact the person in my description below. The Toyota Wigo is essentially a rebadged Daihatsu Ayla and is the giant car maker's answer to the need for an affordable city car. It was introduced in the Philippines back in 2014 and has since become one of Toyota Philippines' top sellers. We have 4 variants in the local market, with this mid-spec G automatic retailing for 658,000 Philippine pesos. Now, the Wigo is still a bestseller, but stiff competition in the A segment has prompted Toyota to give their city car a refresh to ensure that it remains competitive. Now let's see if these changes are enough to keep the Wigo on top. One of the biggest changes in the recent facelift has been the exterior looks. While the overall dimensions still remain the same, the refreshed Wigo now has a sportier looking front and rear bumper. It's filled with these sharp lines and corners, and it's directly influenced by some of the current offerings from Lexus. In fact, this refreshed look ties it together to some of the larger Toyotas in the stable, particularly the new Fortuner LTD or even the Toyota Camry. It looks angry and aggressive despite being such a diminutive city car. Now, the headlight housing has also been redesigned to better match this aggressive front end, although your headlights still remain standard halogens. You also get halogen fog lights here to complete the overall look. Now, the side profile of the Toyota Wigo is pretty much the same as the pre-facelifted model, which means that you get the same tiny and small footprint that would make it easy to maneuver around town. The wheels get a redesign though, although they're still 14 inches and they're wrapped with 175/65 R14 tires. The brakes are standard brakes for an econo car. You get ventilated disc brakes up front and drum brakes at the rear end. Now, for your ground clearance, it's a healthy 180 millimeters, which means it's quite a cinch to clear some of those city speed bumps. The Toyota Wigo's rear end has also received a refresh, particularly the taillights and the rear bumper. The taillights look upscale and remind me of a 90s era Lexus Altezza taillights, but instead of getting red O's, you get dual red L's. Now, the rear bumper has also been redesigned and it now has these cutouts that surround your rear reflectors, which gives it a really nice sporty vibe to it. Overall, when you look at this entire rear end, I am really liking the look. It has that nice sporty flavor to it. And wow, yes, this for me is the best looking Wigo that we've had so far. Now, when you pop open the trunk, you'll see that you'll be treated to a small trunk space, which unfortunately we don't have the figures when it comes to litters. But we don't really need that because we can subject it to Reagan's luggage test. I have here my medium-sized luggage, and as you can see, we'll try to fit it inside this trunk of the Wigo. And as you can see, guys, well, you've got enough space to fit the medium-sized luggage, plus a little bit more space to the sides for smaller items. Now, if you need more space than what this trunk can provide you, you can always tumble down the back seats, and that would give you 421 liters of trunk capacity, which is pretty similar to some of the subcompact crossovers out there in the market. Now, the engine of this facelifted Wigo is the same as the pre-facelifted model. Fuel economy has always been the top priority of the Wigo, and in that regard, this motor delivers. What we have here is a 1-liter 3-cylinder motor that can churn out 65 horses and 89 Newton meters of torque. Power is sent to the front wheels via a 4-speed automatic transmission that we have here, or you can spec it in a 5-speed manual. Now, those power figures might seem like they're on the dismal side, but do remember that the curb weight of the Wigo stands at only 840 kilos, so this tiny motor should be enough to motivate this tiny car whenever you're tooling around town. Fuel economy stands at a good 15 kilometers per liter in the city and a whopping 24 kilometers per liter in the highway. Now, that's what I'm talking about. The Wigo being Toyota's budget city car offering, you really couldn't expect too much cabin amenities inside, and you would be right. The seats are understandably fabric, but the seat design has been updated in this refreshed Wigo to give the cabin a little bit more pop. The steering wheel is also furnished in urethane. It's not really leather wrapped, but you do have a few buttons here for your infotainment volume controls and your mode. The wheel doesn't adjust for reach or rake though, so the driver will be the one who has to adjust in case you need to find the perfect driving position. Now, a mild surprise that I've seen here is the fact that this Wigo, the G variant, has this engine start-stop button on the left side. This is a bit of a mild surprise given that this is a budget city car, plus this is a Toyota budget city car. So the mere fact that we have an engine start button here, that is a pleasant surprise after all. Now for your gauges, you've got a full analog display here, but you do have an LCD screen to the right side that displays your fuel and other stuff like your mileage. However, just like the Mitsubishi Mirage, the Wigo also doesn't have an engine temperature gauge. So good luck trying to figure out if your Wigo is overheating or not. From your gauges, you go on to your infotainment system and you have here a 6.5-inch screen that is a touchscreen display, but it doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. It only has Bluetooth connectivity, and if you want CarPlay or Android Auto, you'll have to spring for the top-of-the-line TRD version of the Wigo to get that functionality. However, the Wigo has another mild surprise in the infotainment system. I was pleasantly surprised to see that this Wigo G variant has a reverse camera. Now, this being such a small city car, the mere fact that it has a reverse camera is quite a pleasant surprise again. Plus, come to think of it, the larger Toyota Innova doesn't even have a reverse camera. So, how come the smaller Wigo has a reverse camera while the larger Toyota Innova doesn't have it? It just truly boggles my mind, guys. But at least the Wigo has that feature in this G variant. Now, when you go from your infotainment system, you have here a nice laid out climate control system here. You don't get manual rotary knobs and controls here, but rather you have these nice glossy electronic push buttons that gives it a really nice, sleek and streamlined look. This is not an automatic climate control system, but at least it's laid out quite well. You also have a cubby here and a couple of cup holders, which we will subject to our clean canteen test. Now, let's see if this will fit. Unfortunately, guys, as you can see, well, it doesn't fit my clean canteen, and the position of these cup holders here means that it will hit the climate control system if I try to force my clean canteen. So yes, it is a fail in my clean canteen test. Now, the gear shifter is mounted also a little bit too low on the center tunnel, pretty similar to the other, well, budget econo city cars that I've reviewed, like the Suzuki Spresso. And you also have a standard handbrake here, but you don't have a center armrest. Now, the good thing there, guys, is Toyota gives it as an option for you. So if you want to have a comfortable center armrest here in the middle, you could spec that in your Wigo. And trust me, guys, you'd want to do that when you purchase a Wigo. Now, when you look at the cabin of this city car, you'll see that it's furnished in hard plastics. It is really 100% hard plastics. It's something that you'd expect from a budget city car, and this Wigo is no different. This baby is pure function, and that's one of the ways that Toyota was able to keep the cost low. As expected, the back seat of the Wigo is as bare as any budget city car. You don't really get any toys here. You don't have a dome light, you don't have a center armrest, you don't have cup holders, you don't have charging ports, and you don't have rear AC vents. None of that stuff can be found here in the back seat of the Wigo. You do have ISOFIX anchors, so that should be good if that matters to you. Now, in terms of space, I'm mildly surprised with the amount of space I'm getting here at the back seat. I'm 5'6", guys, and as you can see, this is my driving position, and I still got a good 8 inches of knee room before my knee would touch the seat back. In terms of headroom though, it's a little bit on the cramped side, around 4 inches left for my 5'6" frame. So if you're a little bit taller than me, staying here at the back seat of the Wigo might be a little bit on the cramped side. This is also mainly just for 2 average size adults. If you try to squeeze in a third person in the middle, that is going to be a little bit pushing it to the edge. The center tunnel of the Wigo is a little bit on the high side, so I'm a little bit surprised with that because this is a front-wheel drive vehicle. And so yes, it would be better to just keep this to 4 average size Asians. Now let's hop back to the driver's seat and take this Wigo out for a drive here in the Toyota Valenzuela complex just to see how it performs in terms of driving dynamics. Alright guys, so we're now behind the wheel of the Toyota Wigo G Automatic. And the first thing that I noticed upon sitting inside here on the driver's seat is how seemingly large this vehicle is despite being such a small city car. I love the fact that the dashboard is a little bit farther off from me. It's not really too in your face, so that gives me the feeling as if that I'm in a larger vehicle than what this Toyota Wigo would suggest. Now when it comes to the seat comfort of the Wigo's driver and front passenger seats are a little bit on the smaller side. So if you are a larger person than my frame, I'm 5'6", average Asian build, well, the seats would be a little bit on the, tight side for you. They're shaped like bucket seats, but these are not really buckets. But yeah, it's the side bolstering on the thighs is a little bit too tight, even for someone of my size. So if you're bigger than me, well, it's gonna be a little bit of a tight fit for you. Now when it comes to the visibility, the Toyota Wigo has a little bit of a quirky, even weird visibility. You see, for a small city car, it's got extra large side windows here on your driver and front passenger area, and that's actually quite a good thing. That means your sideways visibility is not compromised at all. The thing is, when you look up front, the windshield is a little bit raked back, so that means that your windshield is a little bit smaller, pretty expected when it comes to a small city car. The thing is, the dashboard itself is mounted higher up than the tops of your door panels. So it would look like, it would look like you have large windows at the side and a much smaller windshield up front. It's weird and quirky in a cute and pretty cool sort of way, but yeah, the dashboard is a little bit higher up, so that might be a little bit of an issue for smaller drivers than I am. Now, mainly due to that dashboard and door panel effect, well, it makes you feel that the Wigo is actually a bigger car from the inside, although it is really quite diminutive from the outside. Now, the good thing about this Wigo though is that despite being a budget econo city car, this Wigo has a good amount of safety features available to it. The G variant comes with dual airbags. You also got ABS. Now, if you go up to the TRD version, then you get more safety bits and goodies in that car. And this being a Toyota, you do know that, well, the body structure, the body frame and construction is pretty sturdy despite being such a small city car. Now, we all know that this Wigo is powered by a 1-liter 3-cylinder engine, so let's see how it performs when it comes to an inclined ramp that we have here up front. Let's go. Alright, surprisingly, despite the small engine, this Wigo's transmission tuning is pretty much spot on, guys. You've got enough low-end torque and low-end grunt to take this small city car up that steep incline with no issues at all. So that is one bit of good news for people who would be driving this Wigo. You won't have any issues at all when you're climbing up steep inclines. Now, if you're fully loaded with passengers and luggage, then that might be a different story. Now, another thing that I noticed with this Wigo is the NVH. You see, despite just going around here in the parking complex of Toyota Valenzuela, I could hear and feel the vibrations coming from the engine. I'm not even going at a very fast clip. This is just going around parking lot speeds, but I could already feel all the engine vibrations coming into the cabin. That tells me that the NVH levels of the Wigo is a little bit on the harsher side, and that's something that I would also expect since this is a budget city car. I'm not really going to expect like, multi-million peso levels of plushness that can be found in like multi-million peso crossovers, because yes, this is still a budget city econo car. So yes, NVH levels, not really spectacular, pretty much expected from an econo car. Overall, the Toyota Wigo ticks all the right boxes when it comes to an ideal city car. You've got stellar fuel economy, adequate power for city driving, and a small footprint for parking in those tight city parking spaces. Add to that the Toyota badge, and you now know why the Toyota Wigo is the best seller when it comes to the A segment. The recent facelift of the Wigo just managed to keep it ahead of its other budget city car rivals, particularly the Honda Brio and the Kia Soluto. It's a careful balance between looks, features, and price, but it's Toyota's reputation of reliability that will keep it at the top of every budget city car's shortlist. Thanks for watching.